Hey, welcome back to Weld.com, home of TIG time. Hi, I'm Mr. TIG. And today we're at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway where I'm doing some welding testing, and more than just testing, I'm going to show you how you can visual and see if you've welded 4130 correctly. We're going to show you a couple of techniques along the way, and we're even going to get into pressure tests. So I'm going to take a base piece of tubing. This is 4130 tubing. I'm going to drill a hole in the center of it. Now, it's not going to go all the way through, it's just going to go through the top, and then I'm going to put a mitered piece on here. I'm going to weld it. Then I'm going to later pressurize it, and the reason for pressurization is I just want to test my entire frame. So you got to do this technique through the entire frame. Very inexpensive, very easy to do. It's just low cost. So what you do when the frame is completely welded, we'll pressurize it to about 10 psi. We'll do a bubble test on it, see if we have any cracks, and we'll actually put a pressure gauge on the frame. So stick with us. I'm going to drill a hole. I'm going to put my safety gear on, my eye safety gear. I'll drill a hole, and the size of the hole isn't really that critical. It's going to be about 1/8 of an inch diameter, so you can pick the size of hole you want. So let me put my gear on and I'll get back with you. Okay, I've got a hole pre-started here, and I'm going to use my Dremel, make a little bit of noise. Okay, now that we've got the hole drilled, what I'm going to do is fit this up, see if the miter is good. And it is. I can see the hole through here. So the next phase of all this is I'm just going to wire brush it a little bit, weld it up, and then I'll show you the results. And we're going to do a visual inspection. Okay, now this weld is a vertical up. I'm running about, I don't know, probably 50 amps, 55 amps. And you don't have to run very far and you get out of position. And it's okay to taper off. Stop, look at your weld, reposition. So it's welding up pretty decent. I didn't pre-clean it very much at all. And I like running vertical up on both sides. When you're on the side here, it's very much like a fillet weld, and then it transitions into what appears to be almost a lap weld. Okay, and I'll reposition, and I'll do a vertical up on the opposing side. Just little dabs. Okay, now this area right here usually has a little wall thickness that's thinner than normal. And so when I weld, you may see a little ridge there. We'll visual inspect it and I'll show you what I expect at the end. Sometimes you got to add just a little bit more filler, but I'm going to run a single pass and then I'll visual inspect it.
what you'll see is the edge tries to burn away on you, so you got to keep a little bit tighter arc voltage.
Okay, now this area right here is an area that's a little bit thinner than normal. And so what I'll do is I'll do a single pass on it, but don't be surprised if it etches out just a little bit, maybe goes just a little bit concave. And if it does, you may want to do a second pass just to give it some added thickness. So I'm going to run a pass on there, and then we'll do a visual inspection. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, now that we have finished this weld, I'm going to do a visual inspection on it. And there's a couple of things you're going to see on here that are a little bit odd. One is I didn't clean the part. And the reason I didn't clean the part, I wanted to show all the contaminants that come to the surface. And they actually look like real fine cracks. So how do you define whether it's a real crack or not? Well, we're not going to be able to tell completely by visual. Yeah, we'll go ahead, we'll wire brush and see if everything is consistent, see if I've got any collapse or overlaps that aren't correct, any edges that are a little bit rough or sharp. But realistically, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this weld, and when I rotate it, I can see that I do have maybe a little bit of low area right here, but the transition is very, very smooth, and the only way we're going to know is to actually take this to a mag particle test. And that's going to be in part 2 of all this. So we're going to test the guy and see if he really can see the difference in thickness. Now, he's also going to be able to tell you whether this surface condition is real or not. If you have these little spiders that look like cracks, a lot of times all it is phosphorus and sulfur that's come to the surface, a little bit of the surface contamination, and all it's done is come to the surface and re-solidify and it cracks. It's not a bad thing, it just looks ugly. So you really can't look at it and say absolutely it's a crack or it's not a crack. So we're going to take it to the second test. This one is visual. Check the edges real well. Make sure you have no low areas. Our second part of testing is going to be mag particle, and our third part of testing is going to be a pressure test. So stay tuned to this, and we'll finish this project and we'll show you all 3 parts. Thanks for watching TIG Time. I'm Mr. TIG.